how to win friends and influence people, how to win people to your way of thinking, and we're on the principle that simply says this: if you're wrong, admit it quickly and emphatically. Dale Carnegie shares an experience where he was walking a dog in a park by his home, and he says it's just a little dog, and he was a well-trained little dog, and so he says, I didn't keep him on a leash. But they were supposed to be on a leash, and it was against the law. And he says, I ran into this mounted policeman when my dog was loose. It was early in the morning. There was nobody in the park but just the two of them. And he says, as he came up, the mounted policeman just lit into him. He says, don't you know that's against the law? And he says, yeah, but I didn't think. He said, you didn't think? He says, the law doesn't care what you think. And he just basically read him the riot act. And he says, so we changed and we obeyed the law for a little while. And he says, but the dog didn't like to be on a leash. And we were out so early, he said, we had never run into another person. So he says it went by fine for a while. But he says one day, a month or two later, we ran into that policeman again. And he says, I was caught. And he says, I said to the policeman, he says, you've caught me, sir. He says, you caught me red-handed. I'm guilty. And he says, and the policeman completely changed. And he says, well, he says, you're being a little harsh. He says, I know, but it's against the law, and the dog might bite a squirrel. And he says, well, he says, I think you're probably taking this a little farther than you need to. He says, why don't you just take the dog and go over that hill where I can't see? See, because Dale quickly admitted that he was wrong, and he gave the policeman a sense of that he wanted, feeling in charge. And the policeman completely backtracked because Dale said, I'm wrong, I've broken the law. And the policeman said, let's not be too hasty. He says, everything's going to be fine, just take the dog over there. My friends, admit when you're wrong and do it quickly and emphatically. What will that do? It helps the other person get into your good graces. My friends, there's nothing so powerful as helping to see the other person's point of view.